Welcome to the Peters Podcast, where today we are going to talk about generations. Now, I had a conversation with a friend where we were discussing on how certain generations have certain traits. This is also known as, if I just simply scroll down, because this time I have everything ready for the most part. Loading. I have everything else ready except for that portion, and I'm so sorry. Generationism is a belief that a specific generation has inherited traits that make it inferior or superior to another generation. So, kind of like if a boomer thinks that they're better than millennials. And to be very frank, I've seen it lots, and it's kind of rude, such as like ageism, saying "okay, boomer," that kind of thing. So, a generation refers to all people born and living at about the same time, regarded collectively. It can also describe as the average period generally considered to be 20 to 30 years. So, so in my family, parents are boomers. This is where it gets weird because the first child that was born is Generation X, and then the rest of us are millennials. However, because there is a 10-year gap between me and them, 10 to 13-year gap between me and them, some of them are actually offline millennials, and I am the online millennials. The idea behind offline and online is depicted through who had internet, essentially. I was a part of the online where we got internet, we got the, big World Wide Web, and yeah, so that kind of describes kind of what this topic is about. I'm going to give my quirks throughout the entire thing because I don't feel like realistically going through. Oh, I could just click that. I could just click these. Are they all like that? Oh, so I'm going to go through Wikipedia and kind of give my consensus on each individual. So the first one is the Lost Generation. The Lost Generation is 1983 to 1900s. So I guess that would be on my dad's side, my great grandmother. Yeah. My parents had me late, and my grandparents had children late, in their 30s. So, I'm kind of, and then I had kids early because I'm weird. The Lost Generation was a social generational cohort that was in early adulthood during World War I. Lost, in the context, refers to the disoriented, wandering, directionless spirit of many of the war's survivors. So it's a post-war period. It is right after like the civilizations of Europe and essentially the Americas just ended all of their wars. We had like the French Revolution and all that. This is just post that. So, and then later they experienced the economic effects of the Great Depression and often saw their own sons leave for the battlefields of the Second World War. So, That was them. That was the lost generation. They didn't know what the fuck to do. So they were part of the Industrial Revolution. And, you know, they just, they were just like, meh, I don't know what to do. The Greatest Generation, as they're known as, um, or the World War II generation, the ones that fought in World War II. The Greatest Generation, also known as GI Generation, and the World War II generation, is the demographic cohort following the Lost Generation and preceding the Silent Generation. The generation is generally defined as the people born from 1901 to 1927. They were shaped by the Great Depression and were primarily participants in World War II. These guys are tough as fuck. There's no real other way around this. I mean, you normally see, you normally see pictures of them. Like there's one that I'm staring at where the person of military, I think it's Navy, but I don't want to. I don't know what their outfits or their uniforms were. He's kissing his lovely. Two members of the generation embrace on VJ Day, Victory over Japan Day. That's just like the sweetest. Those two. Aw. I don't know. I'm a sucker for, like, oh, you came back from the war, and then you found your love, and she didn't fucking cheat on you. That's cute. I miss those generations where, you know, people had integrity. Anyways, moving on. So yeah, that's the Greatest Generation, the ones who saved our asses and fought in World War II. But we don't really get to hear about them because of not the next generation, but the generation after. So let's go to the next generation, the Silent Generation. The ones that were the Silent Generation, basically they're the ones that were born during World War II. So it was pretty much like, oh yeah, you know, give me a baby before you go, fight. And then the generation after is like, oh, you made it back? Give me another baby. Demographic cohort of the greatest generations, greatest generation, and preceding the baby boomers. So that is the one that I was speaking about. The Silent Generation is generally defined as people born between 1928 and 1945. By definition, U.S. Census data, there were 23 million silents in the United States as of 2019. So these are your like your great grandparents who are still fucking kicking, and they're just like, my parents were fought in World War II. Go fuck yourself. And they were badass. But they fought in, like, it includes people who fought in the Korean War. I didn't read the whole thing, but I'm assuming that they were the ones who fought. Let me read the whole thing. In the United States, the Great Depression of the 1930s and the World War II in early mid-40s caused people to have fewer children. And as a result, the generation is comparatively small. It includes most of those who fought during the Korean War. Upon coming of age in 1950s, they were noted as forming the leadership of the civil rights movement. So these, I think the Silent Generation was pretty much the hippies, I think. Moving on. So the baby boomers, these are probably like if you're really young, these are your grandparents. If not, these are your parents. These are your parents who are just like, man, I was born when my daddy fought in World War II and he came back and he fucked my mama. And it's like, oh, okay, Jesus Christ. These are the people who have no real context on really what to say. And honestly, I blame this generation for the PC culture we have today. I think that they're the ones who pretty much gave participation trophies away because they didn't between them and Generation X because they didn't want their children to feel sad. Some of these people were actually really, really good, but at the same time, like they stood up for people, but at the same time, there was maybe 25% of them were just like, oh, let's do participation trophies, and then Generation X, which a huge 50% are just like, no, let's not give or no, let's give participation trophies, and it's just like, I hope that made sense, because what I'm trying to say is, I blame both. So, um, baby boomers, often shortened to boomers, are the demographic cohort following the silent generation, preceding Generation X. The generation is often defined to people born in 1946 to 1964. During the post-World War II baby boom, the date's demographic context and the culture. I'd like to speak. The demographic context and the cultural identifiers may vary by country. The baby boom has described variously as a shockwave and as pig in the python. Most baby boomers are children of the greatest generation, so not silent but greatest, or the silent generation, and are often parents of the late Gen X and millennials. Late baby boomers can also be parents of older members of Generation Z. I swear to God, if they tell me that I'm okay, good. They tell me that I'm not, which is good. 'Cause fuck, I would clap my own head into my pavement outside. Absolutely horrendous. And then it gives a description of how many. Yeah, like I said, I blame this generation for being like, oh no, we should totally give participation trophies away. No, that's stupid. It would be stupid. People need to work for their trophies. I'm getting really sick of people being like, oh, well, I did something. Shouldn't I get something? No, you shouldn't. I actually got a sweater for one of my powerlifting competitions. I almost want to not ever wear it again because all I can think of is I came 7th. Why did I get this if I came 7th? And then I realized that everybody got a sweater, but the people who came podium, so first, second, third, got something else that signifies, hey, I won. And it's just like, all right, good for them. They did good. They did good things, so they did get good things. Generation X isn't loading. Oh, there it is. Generation X, the one that I was just talking about, the ones who voted for participation trophies. Don't do it. Short for Gen X is demographic cohort following the baby boomers and preceding the millennials, or researchers and popular media, mid-late 1960s, starting birth year and late 70s, early 1980s as the ending birth years, with the generation being generally defined as the people in 1965 to 1980. Harvard University defines Gen X as people born between 19 to, yeah, okay. So I should stop doing that because this is not, this is not ASMR. So Gen Xers were dubbed the MTV generation, reference to the music video channel, sometimes characterized as slackers, cynical, and disaffected. That is true, and that's not true. I mean, they didn't really help much at first, and then there are some who actually, you know, like when they did something, they really did something. But you find that with every generation is that there are a number of people who don't do much, and then there are a huge number of people who do something, and then there's a small minority who do amazing things that turn the point of our lives. But they're also the generation who gave us grunge and grindcore. They gave us grindcore, so that's a terrible thing. They should be ashamed of themselves for giving us grindcore. The rest of everything else they should be okay with, but grindcore, that was terrible. Hate grindcore. Gen X or millennials, or Generation Y, as they're formerly known as, are the demographic cohorts following Generation X, preceding Generation Z, which I'm going to get to, which are also known as stuff that I'm going to get to because I want to get through this millennial crap because I'm a millennial apparently. Researchers of popular media use the early 80s starting birth and mid 1900s, early 2000s as ending birth, 1981 to 1996, and they are usually the parents of Generation Alpha. No, I mean, yes, but no, because I got a Generation Z as one of my kids. I'm not gonna tell you what year, but just gonna say that. So millennials essentially are the co-founders of I'm depressed, so I don't get to do anything, and I don't want to do anything, and I've just met a bunch of them that were just lazy. Like, yeah, some of them are really hard achievers, and some of them do amazing things, and you find this with, again, I'm making the same statements every generation. However, most of the people who are in millennials that are lazy usually end up using something that is an excuse, such as, oh, I'm depressed, or oh, I can't do that because I have an illness. And honestly, yeah, it even says it here, the fucking health problems, hypertension, diabetes, high cholesterol levels, because they don't fucking do anything. They're usually overweight or obese. The dental, they need like 35 trouble biting and chewing. 35%. 35%. 30% have untreated tooth decay. 38% are just less satisfying due to teeth problems. Like, but you know, we did get like UFC. You know, we came into a time of like major league, national football stuff. I don't know where I was going with that. We all need to go for a fucking run every once in a while, because these people are fucking fat and don't have anything to do Like, yeah, there are some people who are thick. Don't get me wrong, thick is beautiful, thick is gorgeous. However, um, when you sit there and you tell people I'm depressed because of a certain situation that doesn't really need your feelings, like going to school. I'm depressed because I have to go to school, so I don't want to go to school. Um, that's worrisome. It's really worrisome because, um, like, I didn't want to go to school because I got bullied, but I'd just make an excuse, like the old X excuse. Oh, my tummy hurts. Um, but then it causes behavioral issues. We get divorced more. We um, have kids overly young. And Gen X actually started that one too, as well as other generations, but we're not going to go there. Um, uh, I'm realizing that there's also other names. Oh yeah, and I guess the best way to put it is, um, if you're a snowflake, you're not gonna like me. You're not gonna like what I have to say. Um, what the fuck is the strawberry generation? Oh, that's for Chinese. Oh, because they bruise easily. Okay, they should call it peach generation then. But yeah, snowflakey people don't like them. Generation Z, also known as Zoomers, because they do about as the old shtick I've heard is that Generation Z is the new baby boomers because there was a baby booming, um, you know, a statistic that where they all shot out as as the baby boom. They like there was a huge chunk of. Let's see if I can find it. Generation Z is 1997 and 2012. So during those times, there was a big happening of baby booming. So people were getting pregnant and having kids, largely amount in 1997 to 2012, as well as 1946 to 1964. So, yeah, there was a huge amount of people having kids. Um, they're also known as Zoomers because they they're like old people. They just you notice this with millennials too, is that they'll they'll have traits of what your typical old person will. They're very tired. They're very sleepy. They're also digital natives. Um, so uh, basically, like, um, have a lower rates of teenage pregnancy and consume alcohol less often, but not necessarily other psychoactive drugs. Yes, this is true. Um, so they they're unhealthy, but for different reasons. They're unhealthy because they don't get out as often because they're too attached to their phones. And this I understand. Now, when I'm making this, I do understand that there are people who are going to binge watch my videos. That I'm okay with, to a degree. But at the same time, don't forget to go outside. Watch my videos at the very end of the day to help you relax. Maybe. Or beginning of the day when you're getting ready for work. I don't know. I only make like fucking hour long videos talking about nonsense that nobody really gives a shit about. Ooh, this is getting surreal. Um, Anyways, so yeah, that's Gen Z. Um, I don't I don't see them to be the problem in society. I seem to think we're the problem for them because we've told them too much shit. Millennial snowflakes have taught, or Gen X millennial snowflakes taught them how to be wrong, how to do life wrong, instead of actually teaching these kids um, that the best way to live your life. We instead decided to just be stupid. So, moving on. And Generation Alpha is the last one. Generation Alpha is the short demographic cohort succeeding Generation Z. Researchers and popular media use early to mid 2010, so 2013. Named the first letter in the Greek alphabet. Generation Alpha. So yeah, this is basically our restart. This is how these are just like the babies, if you will. And we should teach these kids. We should teach these kids to actually be better than we were. And a lot of them are actually growing up to be quite like Generation C. And honestly, they're supposed to be the smarter generation, but unfortunately, half of them are showing that they're not. So, and whose fault is that? Our fault. So I really hope that we pick it up. And the only generation that I can really think of on who to actually talk about is millennials, because Generation Alpha doesn't really have much on them. We need to teach them to be better than us, but unfortunately, we are stupid, especially millennials. And I'm talking directly to all the generation that is the same as mine, which is the millennials. Please stop being stupid. Stop being butthurt over everything. We need to stop crying, and we need to get our shit together and actually teach these kids how to be contributing members of society. Right? Right. Anyways. (63 degrees Fahrenheit, 15 degrees Celsius outside. AccuWeather, you suck. Anyways, yeah, that's really all I got for generations, and what to say about them. Honestly, some generations do have certain traits to them that can be overbearing. I've seen some people say that boomers have a very overbearing, controlling aspect to them. Generation X just doesn't give a fuck. Millennials are too goddamn snowflakey. And honestly, we need to stop teaching our kids that it's okay to we need to stop teaching our kids that it's okay to be butthurt over everything and that ignorance is bliss, because it's not. It's hurting our society. And honestly, we're just repeating the cycles back in the 1900s that we're doing in the 2000s. We're just doing it quicker. And that being said, link in the description below to get yourself some beard struggle stuff. I'm gonna go and, I don't know, maybe have a smoke, have a drink of water, do some push-ups before the next video. And yeah, I need to find an outro for this, but bye bye.